who is here from the university. I think I see Denny Rob. Let's start with you. Denny Rob, can you introduce yourself and share kind of your role?
Yeah, my name is Rob Barnett. I am the program coordinator for accreditation, which means I do a lot of the protecting minor stuff. So you'll probably be emailed by me a lot in this process if you have not been already. But I'm also student teaching in spring 24, so it's kind of interesting. I'm kind of excited, but yeah.
Yeah, and then I see, let's see, I see Bethany. Bethany, welcome. It's good to have you here. Can you introduce yourself to everyone?
Thank you. Yes. Hey guys, I am Bethany. I'm the career advisor for the College of Education, Health, and Human Sciences, which means that I am really all about your future and making sure that you guys are prepared to step into the dream career that you are wanting to develop for yourself. I can come alongside of you guys with preparing documents like resumes and cover letters and bios, and I think we'll talk about that in a little bit, but also searching for positions, grad school applications, interview preparations, all sorts of things, anything related to your career, I'm here for you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Bethany. And I think Dr. Sao is here as well. You want to say hello, introduce yourself?
Ling Sao from Family Consumer Science, a teaching faculty.
So happy to have you here. Is there anybody else? Okay. Well, I'll just say once more, because I just let several people in. I'm Rebecca Boyson Taylor. I am a teacher. I've taught preschool all the way through 8th grade, and I love teaching middle school. I would teach them together if I could, actually, preschool and middle school. I'm not joking about that at all. I am going to help sort of illuminate what the process of applying to be a student teacher is, what will happen after your application is turned in, and then answer any questions for you. So this meeting is for spring 24 student teachers. When you apply to student teach here at the University of Idaho, you're going to start at the website link that I just dropped in the chat. If you've been in this meeting since the very beginning, you've seen the same one twice, so no need to open it again, but that has some information about applying for intern placement. There's a couple things to know to be prepared for before you begin this online application. One thing is that I'm going to ask you for either your Praxis scores, and this process is the same for anyone student teaching. So I see, Benjamin, your question in the chat. If you're working towards teacher certification and you need a student teacher placement, you're in the right place. So you're going to go ahead and have your Praxis scores or your Praxis test dates ready. You need to already be thinking about Praxis because you have to fully pass all Praxis before the start of the fall semester. And one thing you may not know about Praxis, and I don't say this to scare you, but to give you plenty of buffers so that you will be prepared for any eventuality, is that if for any reason you need to retake a Praxis, you need to wait 28 days to sign up for a new test. So that means if you start taking them in late spring, you will be ready by the time school starts in August. But if you don't start thinking about that till the end of summer, you may not be. And it takes us also about 3 weeks to get scores on Praxis. There are a couple exceptions to this. If you are in music or if you are studying to be a PE teacher, you're going to follow the guidance of your advisor for when to take the Praxis. The reason for that is that in those two programs specifically, there are methods courses that come very late in the program that are prerequisites for taking those tests. But other than that, you need to take them early, and you need to either have scheduled test dates or passing scores for me when you apply. If you are a person who has been told by your advisor that you are a double major and that satisfies the Praxis requirement, you will indicate that on your application to student teach. You'll just tell me that. The other thing that you need to think about is where you plan to student teach. And there's a whole lot of strategy that goes into, are we staying in Idaho? Are we trying to stay in the Moscow area? And I'll just preface this by saying what you put on this application will help us to know who should interview you to student teach. Because as I told you, we have 3 placement coordinators, one in Northern Idaho, myself here in the middle Moscow area, and all the way down south toward McCall. And then we have Dr. Rodney McConnell, who's in the southern part of the state, who will place people down there. So Warren in the north, Rebecca in the middle, and then Rodney in the south. So if something changes between the time that you apply and the time that you are interviewed to student teach in the fall, you'll just update us. If it means that you need to be interviewed by someone else, please email edinterns@uidaho.edu to let them know that you've had a change. So we're not going to start looking for your placement based on what you put on your application. You're just giving us an indication of where you think you're heading with that. These applications are due March 1st. And they'll be reviewed by mid-April. So you'll start hearing back from me in late April about your next steps. So as I review them, I'm looking over, we're building a database of your contact information specific to field placement so that you don't miss any notifications. And so that everyone in the college doesn't need to be blasted with an email when I want to get a hold of you. We're also thinking about capacity in the different regions so that I can give people a heads up if I happen to know that they just, there's too many people in one region and people might start to really seriously need to consider other options. And then I'm going to send you a sheet with next steps that outline for you several things, but I think the most important 2 are, it'll remind you of your responsibility to get Praxis Pass. And by what date, and then it'll talk to you about how we're going to create your bio packet. And you are all going to work very closely with Bethany in Career Services to make sure that you have a strong bio packet that shares your teaching philosophy, that shares a little bit about what you're looking for in your student teaching placement. And then it will also give a resume on the back so that people can understand what are some of the educationally related experiences that you've already had to prepare you to be a very strong candidate to be in their school as an intern. So now I'll just pause because Bethany may want to add on. No pressure, Bethany, but what else should we say about the bio packet?
Yeah, no pressure at all. Yeah, I would really love to work alongside of all of you to be able to provide the best bio packet to these principals and teachers that are looking at you. Working with Career Services and myself, there's a lot of questions that I end up asking when I'm working with a student that maybe the student hasn't thought of. A lot of times when we're working together, there will be skills and experiences, strengths that you have that maybe you weren't actually thinking about, that then becomes a really great point of value that you get to show and demonstrate on your bio or resume to engage with those principals and teachers. So the goal is really to highlight, like Rebecca said, those philosophies of teaching that you have started to develop in your educational experience, and then also the experiences that you bring to the table, but also really highlight the strengths and maybe some of the interesting angles and methods and ideas that you have and how you plan to develop in the student teaching. So we can come up with some really great language together to make sure that it is best representing you and then hopefully engaging you in the very best student teaching experience that you can have.
Oh, I love that. And can you add, I know I've heard you talk, Bethany, about what is unique about our career services for alumni that I didn't know was unique to our school. So I think this is a great opportunity to just share a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah, so with career services, a lot of, well, the vast majority of colleges, career services is extended for maybe a year or 2 years. After that, alumni have to pay a certain fee to be able to engage with career advisors. At the University of Idaho, we really want to be there for not just you guys now, but then also in the future too as well. And we recognize that our ever-changing world means that sometimes you might want to pivot somewhere or engage in a different school district. And so our services extend to alumni forever for free. We say once a Vandal, always a Vandal. And like I said, I mean, truly, when I say your future is our mission, that is really how we operate here. So yeah, I would, you guys can make an appointment with me on VandalStar. And you'll see your career advisor is going to be myself appointed to you. And there's some drop-in hours too as well that you can find on Career Services website in case you do need to have somebody look at something pretty quickly. Otherwise, VandalStar would be wonderful to make an appointment with me. I am in the Ed building 4 days a week. My hours just kind of fluctuate, so making an appointment would be great.
Thank you, Bethany. And I'll just share when I decided that it was time to make the big jump from being a classroom teacher to working with future teachers. I called Career Services and I felt like I got a life coach. I mean, I'm not kidding. My Career Services person before Bethany was here made me feel like I was the most well prepared, helped me to see all the skills that I had been developing. I had not applied for a job in probably 15 years, and helped me to understand what all the different components of the application process should look like, was willing to set up like a mock interview for me based on the type of position that I was signing up for. And I had never used Career Services before, and I am convinced that part of the reason that I'm in the job that I am in now is that I had a partner helping me to know how to tell my story. Because I'm an expert at teaching. Teaching is my superpower. I am not an expert at applying for jobs. I had only ever done it, when I was very young, and then had the good fortune to be in the same position at a school I loved for many, many, many years. So that's part of why we want you to connect with Bethany to create your bio now, so that you start to see the magic that Career Services can do for you over time. So I think, and I can't believe it's free forever. Like, what a miracle. So
yeah, and can I just interject really quickly? You just made me think of, as you're developing this bio, and you come in and we're creating a bio for you, I do recognize that 6 months from now, you might have some extra experiences that are going to be added on or need to be added on. There might be some shifts, pretty quickly. And so my goal is for you to walk away with the skills to be able to continue to enhance your bio, enhance your resume as you grow and develop in this program and beyond too as well. So I really want you to have the tools and skills to be able to do that yourself too. So
yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, so unless I think of something so important that I'm just blanking on, I think I just want to move to Q&A, because I feel like I just want to be responsible so you're not thinking about the bio packet yet, because when I approve your application to Student Teach in probably late April, you're going to get instructions and a template. Bethany and I are still fine-tuning what we're going to send you to make it even better than our current process. So that will come once your application is approved. Until your application is approved, you're not really ready for student teaching. And that might be for a variety of reasons. You may have accidentally submitted an incomplete application. You may not be done with your coursework, or there might be something that, that you haven't attended to yet. And I will help. I'm going to respond to everyone who applies and let them know whether or not their packet has been accepted. And if it hasn't, I'm going to let you know why and like what are the next steps. So you'll get the information for the bio packet in April. And you will have until mid-August to complete your bio packet. But don't wait too long because everyone can't meet with Bethany the same week right before school starts. So yeah. So the application for student teaching it is due on March 1st. If you're not sure whether you already applied, I see your message, Lily, you can email edinterns@uidaho.edu to ask. You all applied to teacher ed, I'm hoping, when you started to get serious about wanting to be a teacher. If you haven't applied for teacher ed yet, being accepted to teacher ed is a prerequisite for filling out this application to student teach. And Andrea Chavez is the person that you would check with if you're an undergrad. And I'm thinking Dr. Taylor Rainey is who you'd want to check with if you're a graduate student and you're not sure if you have been admitted to teacher ed. So let's have some more questions. And I'll just drop the link in the chat one more time to where you're going to be applying to student teach.
So in order to apply to student teach, we need to have a praxis. We need to have our praxises already passed, or we need to have a scheduled date of when we're going to take them.
Yes, Ethan, thank you. That is right.
So I haven't taken my test yet. So by March when this application's due, I have to have my test scheduled.
Yeah, and you'll say to me, like, I'm taking this one in May, this one in June, that sort of thing.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, you'll just tell me the dates.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that. You do, if you're part of the PE program, you are. And Olivia, when I don't know if you were here when I mentioned it, but for PE and music educators, please follow the instructions of your advisor as to when you should take the praxis, because for those two subject areas, there are slightly different rules. And I see, Allie, you have your hand raised.
When do we need to complete or pass all of our praxis exams by?
They must all be taken and passed by the start of the fall semester. And then about a month into the fall semester, I'll be reaching out to you and other placement coordinators will be reaching out to you to schedule an interview to student teach. We like to request spring placements before Thanksgiving. I'd love to tell you you'd all know where you're going to be by Thanksgiving, but that is not the reality that we're seeing in schools. Sometimes schools do not confirm placements until late November or December for spring. It can be a little scary because some of you are needing to move. So keep that in mind. We are guests in schools and we work on the timelines that they work on. And especially if there's a school where we're going to have to get a contract with them, sometimes that comes right down to the wire. But I see it work every semester. So don't lose faith in the process. Just know that if you're a planner and you hope that like getting your stuff done early and interviewing early means that you will know your placement early, like it's a little more messy than that. And I want to be honest with you from that, from the start, just so that you can kind of set your expectation. Let me look at some of the questions in the chat. Let's see. You can go to the ETS website, Educational Testing Services website for Praxis. I usually Google Idaho Praxis, for teachers when I'm looking for it. But the ETS website is where you can, that's your entry point. There's information about the Praxis there. There's links to testing, to the different subtests and when they're offered and at what testing locations. So let me see if I can just pull that up really quick. And I will drop a link in the chat that will be helpful to you. There's a lot of things hidden deep within this website that will help you to study for the praxis. So I would recommend that you spend a little bit of time looking around at the main ETS website where there are different study guides. We also have discounted sample tests in the curriculum library. I think you still have to physically go there in person to get a voucher for it. So call the curriculum library with questions about that. And when you take the praxis, please indicate that they should release scores to the University of Idaho so that I can see them. Tests. For the praxis, if you have to retake the subtests, it's 28-day wait for whatever subtests you need to retake. Hopefully I actually answered your question. If I misunderstood it, just unmute and tell me. If you're being certified in multiple subjects, yes, all your praxis need to be passed. Double majors, so I'm not going to tell you that all double majors are exempt from the praxis. I want you to hear that directly from your advisor who's looking at your specific course evaluation to make that determination. And if your advisor tells you that you do not have to take a praxis for your endorsement, you can indicate that on the application. Some private schools, we do have people teaching at private schools for student teaching, but there are some requirements related to things like knowing that you're going to get experience working with students with special needs that we have to make sure are met. You also have to be working with a certified teacher who's had a certain amount of experience. And so where we usually run into issues with private school placements is that some of those conditions aren't met. And so it comes down to the specific school, and we'll talk about all of those details during your interview to student teach. Sometimes, Haley, I'm seeing your question. Are you able to student teach at schools that you went to or have worked at? We generally discourage it, and that's because we want you to have a different experience for your student teaching. Some of the reasons for that might include things like it being awkward for you to show up as a professional for the first time around people who think of you as their student or as like not an adult yet. We also, want to make sure that that you're placed with the very best mentor, and sometimes that person may or may not be at the school that you went to, like the very best mentor for you based on what you're doing. Having said that, I have also supported and continue to work closely with the Indigenous Knowledge for Effective Education program here at the University of Idaho. And that is a program for Indigenous scholars who are planning to go back and teach at schools that serve predominantly Native students. And sometimes that takes people back to the schools that they're from. And so I've seen examples through that program and through a few other interns that I've worked with of people who are just very committed to going back to become teachers at the schools they went to. And so we can have that conversation. But, as a general rule, it's probably going to be a little bit easier for you to start somewhere where you get to show up fresh as a student teacher. But I think there's exceptions to almost every rule except needing to pass praxis. There's no waiver for that. I can't do anything to work around that. But so that would be something to think about for your own comfort level. Like, would that be the best place for you to be in this internship? And then if so, would the other people that are at that school allow you to show up as a professional for the first time and learn all the things that you needed to learn? I am planning on teaching outside of Idaho. Is the ETS link still available? Yeah, or still applicable? Yeah, it is, because you're going to get certified in Idaho before you can transfer that certificate to another state. And your student teaching in another state is still tied to Idaho standards because you're going through an Idaho certification program. So the praxis is required not only by the state for certification, it's also required by our university because of a rule through the State Board of Ed that to graduate, you have to have passed those praxis and have your endorsement. And so you're going to take the Idaho recommended ones. And then during your 401 seminar class, which will happen when you're student teaching at the same time, one of the things that Dr. Taylor Rainey will talk to you about is how to transfer your credential to another state if that's your situation. I'm thinking that you do, Casey, but go ahead and check with your advisor because I am not an advisor. So I cannot answer those questions for you, whether you need to take a praxis based on a minor. You can see that Crash and Bethany are going to meet in the, and yeah, that Crash, don't worry yet, but maybe meeting up with Bethany for the bio packet purposes, like in May or June. I don't know, Bethany, maybe you have specifics for when you might be out of the office or when things might be really full for you, but and I'm not sure. I think Taylor Rainey has the information you're asking for. Crash is asking in the chat if there's any way to look up reciprocity for certification. And I'm sure that on every state educational website, there's some way to do that, but every state is unique. And so Taylor has spent the most time with those sorts of things. So I would recommend asking him about that. And just know that that will be gone over in your 401 seminar class, how to start learning those things. Please feel free to unmute and ask questions. I feel like I'm just talking far too much.
Hi, I've already taken the practice test, so I'm wondering that you guys would have already been sent that information, correct? Or will it in the application give like your group of people the information to that in the application?
If you indicated that University of Idaho should receive your scores, we will be able to look at them, but we are not aware of it until you apply. We take all the information from your application and put it into this really amazing database that we'll use from the time you apply all the way through the end of your student teaching to track every little thing. And so at some point, somebody will start checking that. But if you know your scores, you can tell me that on your application to student teach. And then we'll make a note of it in the spreadsheet. And then we'll go in and double check that we can actually see them through our official channels. So that's great. All right, I think this is the point in the meeting where I say, if you're pumped, if you're ready, you feel like you know everything you need to know to apply to student teach, I can't wait to read your application in March and April to get back to you with next steps. So you're welcome to log off. I'm going to stay here because I have a feeling that there's some people with lingering questions who might want to ask them or just clarify things. So best of luck to you. And I can't wait to help you all with this next stage of your professional journey. This is the good stuff that you're getting toward. You worked so hard.
I have a quick question.
Yeah. What's your
So I'm
question?
gonna log off because I have class, but if I need to get in contact with you, I can reach you via Vandalstar, right?
You can, and the nice thing about my email is that it is just my first name, and I'm going to put it in the chat just so that you see it because I'm probably the only Rebecca that you've seen spell their name like this. But yeah, it's just Rebecca at UIdaho. And if you have questions about things like, turning in the bio, we also have an email we use really frequently that's edinterns@uidaho.edu. So reach out to me. I'm on the 5th floor of the Ed building in 508. I'm all the way on the top floor. So I am happy to have students come and find me in my office if I'm not teaching or in a meeting. And I'm also happy to have you set up a time to come meet if you want to chat about anything. Okay.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Have a good class, Ethan.
Just a quick